welcome to the DL Gaming Podcast. This week we're going to be talking about Smite 2, For the King 2, Karate Survivor 1, and Zero Sievert. Don't know how to pronounce that. My name is Bobby.
My name's Amanda.
My name's Nick.
I'm so glad that my doggy commander deck finally won. I have so many commander decks, and I've barely started playing commander, but I keep playing each one until it wins. And some take a lot longer to win than others. And the dog meat from Fallout one, everybody knows what it's going to do. It's a one-trick pony, and so it gets crushed pretty easily. Anyway, after a 3-hour game, I think I won out of attrition because everybody else was just falling asleep. They're just like, we can't continue. And I was like, I drank three Coca-Colas. I'm gonna finish this strong, and I did. Should we, if anybody wants to, we can start recording these things and posting them up pretty easily. Just let us know. Speaking of recordings, are we going a ping or what am I doing? Are we doing plug-in?
Well, I mean, yeah, we ping things.
Yep.
Yeah, we ping things.
This is our first segment of the show.
And Steam game recording jumped on my Steam announcements to me. I know it's been in beta for a long time, but I guess it officially launched on full release this month. And so, yeah, you can do it now on Steam. It does record locally. I was hoping by the miracle of technology, it could record on server side so they could serve it. Like I think I would pay for that. Just because I don't have
you would be paying for that in your internet bill.
Yeah. But anyway, so it records locally. You could set the max disk space so it doesn't gobble up your entire space that you have. You can have a quick record button where it goes back as many minutes as you want if something awesome happens. But you either have it on or off. So you got to go into the settings, turn it on, and then there's a bunch of different dials and whistles that you can go in. And that's all I had for ping.
Well, nice. I mean, speaking of Steam, well, I said stream, but there's, I'm thinking of Steam. There's, this amazing thing, which is Half-Life 2 is 20 years old. So that's pretty old. We're very old. So they have on there, hey, So Half-Life 2 is 20 years old, Nick. So they have a free documentary on YouTube about it, which seems pretty cool. I haven't gotten a chance to watch it all the way through, though. But what's, I think, more exciting is that Half-Life 2 is free on Steam, but only until the 18th, which is for us tomorrow. We're recording this on Sunday, so if you're listening to it on Tuesday, then
too late.
Dang, that sucks. But if you're listening to this on Twitch, go on Steam right now and get it for free, because that's amazing. It's a masterclass, and you should at least have it because it's pretty cool.
A little side note on this, more people are playing Half-Life 2 than ever since they started tracking anyway. Yeah, so people are going back to it. Maybe, I think some people are going for the first time. I think a lot are.
Yeah. Let's be real, is anybody going to watch the 2-hour documentary on Half-Life 2? I scrubbed.
A lot of people have.
I'm sure a lot of people have. I don't think I am, though. I scrubbed through it a little bit, and there was a chapter on like a lawsuit or something. I was like, man, I don't know about this. Like, there's a lot of talking heads and gameplay footage, and I'm sure there's some really good stuff in there, but I'll wait for someone to summarize it for me. There's some interesting articles that came out, too. Oh, go ahead, Nick.
I actually have a little bit about that lawsuit. So everybody right now on Reddit is talking about the Korean intern that saved Valve.
Yeah. That's what I saw a meme about it, and I was like, oh, what's this? That's what made me want to watch the documentary.
So I read into it, and it turns out that the company that they had as their main publisher, Valve's main publisher, right, was actually selling copies of Counter-Strike to cyber cafes. And as it turns out, that really wasn't like what they were trying to sue them for. They were actually just trying to get the judge to clarify if it was in their purview or not. And the company that was their publisher was like, we can out money these guys. We can make it so that these guys can't afford to, keep up this lawsuit. So they started extending the lawsuit. And when they served the papers to Valve multiple times, it was all in Korean. Well, it turns out that Valve had a Korean intern who spent hours and hours and hours and hours translating documents. And it turns out one little line in that huge pile of papers, admitted to them destroying evidence.
Wow.
Admitted that the company that Valve was suing destroyed evidence, and they won the case because of that. And if not, Valve and Gabe Newell himself would have been bankrupt.
Oh my! Wow.
Damn. Yeah, that because it's a picture of Atlas holding up the world, and it said modern computer gaming is the world, and then random Korean intern was the Atlas statue. So I was like, what does this mean? So now I know. Thanks, Nick.
Wow.
No problem.
Wow.
I read something for once.
All right. What I wanted to ping this week is the nominees for the 10th anniversary of the Game Awards will be revealed on Monday. So we're recording on Sunday. This gets released on Tuesday. That puts us in an awkward position where we can't really talk about the nominees because they haven't happened yet. But by the time you listen to this, you'll know who they are. But it is that time of the year. The Game Awards are going to be happening December 17th, I think. And it's time for us to all start thinking about what our game of the year was and reflecting back on this year of gaming.
Yep.
It's all a
For
blur to me, to be honest.
Yeah.
I don't know if it's
you
like
know what really helps is since Sniper does a good job of tracking everything we ever talk about. You just go back and watch it, look at your list and you're like, oh yeah, this game. Forgot about that one.
Yep.
Yeah. I do want to plug some merch. We don't talk about it very often. We make t-shirts and we make anything. We make logos is what we make. And then you could take those logos and put them on whatever, thanks to TeePublic. So whether it be a t-shirt, sweatshirt, onesie for new babies out there, whatever it is, you can get our creations on there and shipped to you. Go check it out. Very cool. You can get there by dlgaming.net. That's dlgaming.net for all your gaming needs.
And then the last thing we'll ping is something similar or akin to what Emilio was talking about at the beginning of the podcast. So the Magic the Gathering podcast has been on hiatus for about 2 weeks now. Some personal stuff between Samir, not between me and Samir, like we're arguing or anything. We just actually drafted last night. We're kind of like best friends, something like that. Anyways, we kind of taking a break because some stuff happening in his family, some stuff happening in my family. We'll be back up this week coming up. That is the MTG podcast, where we stopped talking about MTG on this podcast because it's too long form. It started taking up 45 minutes of podcast sometimes. The DLG podcast, MTG on the DL podcast features me, a buddy of ours named Samir, and then sometimes Emilio. However, in the future, we're going to be working it out where it's not even me or Samir. It might be Emilio and someone else, or we're just going to be having, just rotating guest spots. That show is around 30 to 45 minutes long. And then the second thing I wanted to ping, just super quick, is that thank you, ScramTX, for finally cashing in your 1-year Patreon thing. If you don't know, if you've been a Patreon for a year and you just have like Alzheimer's or something, you can nominate us to play any game on Steam, literally any game on Steam, and then we legally have to play it. So totally don't buy me any kind of crazy cool game. But no, ScramTX heard my rage towards Vampire Survivor games or Survivor-like games, whatever you want to call them. I now have to play Deep Rock Survivor. A lot of people thought I was going to be talking about that this week. I will not. I'll be making a mobile video about 2 minutes long for that review. It might be 2 parts on Instagram. It might be 1 part on TikTok, but me and Sniper will get that acclimated. I have to play 3 hours of the game. That's the rule. So if you do, like I said, last a year on Patreon, you can make us play 3 hours of any video game you want, so we know we can't return it. Yeah.
Also found on dlgaming.net. That's dlgaming.net.
dlgaming.net.
Gaming.
So speaking of Survivor likes, let's move on to highlights. So I've been playing yet another one. I don't know when this is gonna end, man. It's not like I'm like searching for Survivor likes. Actually, this one was gifted to me by Burn Division. He put it on the radar. No, I played the demo. Then he played it on he put it on the radar and pinged me. He's like, "You really want?" And I played. Yeah, I was.
Let's just start with the name of the game. Let's start there.
Oh, Karate Survivor was gifted to me by him. And yeah, it's funny because like after the demo, I was kind of not totally loving it, but now I'm kind of hooked. I've played this more than anything else over the last 2 weeks. But let's talk about what makes it different. So it's karate themed, and you're making combos by the random drops. So you might get a left hook and a right jab and a crane kick and whatever. And kicks and punches are separated, and then there's like another category. I'm not exactly sure what it is, but you can put these together, and the better you form, the better they flow, the more damage and the more range they have. So that's pretty nice, but that's not really what makes the game so fun for me. It's kind of, you're kind of like Jackie Chan, and all these characters are coming at you, and it's a bunch of environmental damage. I mean, a lot. There's like glasses. You could just pick up a glass and throw it at pizza boxes, just tossing it at people and causing bleed damage, or slide under a table, or flip over a table and kick the guys on the other side, or knock down the water tower that squashes a bunch of guys, or kick the shopping cart, kick the Harley Davidson, which explodes. And so you're just like running and causing chaos, which kills the guys. Or you can punch them, but punching puts you in harm's way because you're getting close to them, right? So I like the environmental damage a lot. So a lot of Vampire Survival is about positioning, but basically it's just like you running away and getting stronger than you can. But on this one, you're not constantly throwing your combo. There's a cooldown. So it's about running and then turning around and punching and facing them for a little bit, and then running again. It really does play out like a Jackie Chan movie. It's fucking awesome, that part of it. And the character design, I thought was great. Like, no two levels have the same characters. There's a whole bunch of characters on each level, like probably 5, 6, 7, 8. And isn't like you'll have your typical thugs with the mohawk, but then you'll also have just like a businessman that looks totally stressed out from work, and he's just coming at you. There's like an overweight dad with the like balding guy. I don't know. Instead of a loot goblin, there's a naked old man that runs around, and he's like like losing his shit. Like, the game is just a pleasure to play. I'm not exactly sure how much is this thing right now.
This game
It's
is
$4.99.
It's so worth $4.99.
It's so cheap. Yeah, and I'm wondering too if you could play a level where you're fighting against a whole bunch of dads, and you can jump into the lazy boy, spin, and then launch the lazy boy at them, because I see that you can do that, where you jump into a couch and then spin and launch the couch at the enemies, which is awesome. That's cool.
I when you do these like 16-bit graphics, you have so much more space to fill out. Like, I can't even come close to how many things you can interact here. 100? Like, there's 100 little interactions. I just unlocked a new one, and that's the other thing. I keep unlocking more, and so now I can do a wall flip. I can run up a wall and backflip. It doesn't do any damage, but it's great for when you get cornered against all these guys. And I was like, oh shit, that was so dope. Like, so good. So I can highly recommend, especially for $5. It is also 82%. I think it deserves more than that. But yeah, high recommended for me. Who's going next?
It's cool. I like the retro style of that too. I put on my highlight another retro style kind of game. I talked about it on my radar for the last episode, but I actually got to play it a bit before this episode and have some highlights. Thank you to Clown Lotion for gifting me this game as well, by the way, which is Zero Sievert. I'm not sure if I'm pronouncing that right either, actually. Like, Bobby, you said that in the beginning, but I think it's Zero Sievert. It's a top-down extraction shooter. It reminds me so much of Tarkov, because like it takes place in a place called Zarkov.
That's most of Russia, dude. Let's be honest.
Yeah,
here.
that's a good point. But it's cool because it's a procedurally generated wasteland. Every time you pop in, it's different. In the beginning, you're going to these woods all the time, and you take a train to go to these different areas to go loot. And The UI, especially when you're looting, does remind me of Tarkov as well, where you kind of have to wait to identify and things like that. You can modify all of your guns with different scopes and muzzles and all kinds of things, which is, again, a lot like Tarkov. This game is hard as fuck like Tarkov. I played, I loaded in, I went on the easiest setting, and I even like looked up some like tips and tricks and like was like, okay, I think I prepared. And I go into the forest and I see like a boar, and I'm like, oh, you know what? Like a pig, I feel like a creature, like a beast, a pig would be a lot easier to kill than other enemies. So I'm like, oh, sweet, this has got to be like the first thing that I attack while I level up to go fight enemies. No, in like 2 hits, I'm just absolutely plastered into the ground and dead. Don't fuck with the boars is what I've actually learned. Because when I fought like some wolves, I ended up being okay. And then when I fought people, they were like so easy in comparison to the boars and the pigs. So don't mess with the boars, guys. But this game is super fun and it's definitely tough, but it's done really, really well. You're definitely maneuvering through vantage points, and you want to use distance and you want to use other things to kind of break the line of sight when you are fighting anything. And there's a lot of not only visual cues of movement, and like they have little things in there where if there is a dead body and a crow flies onto the dead body, well, then it's safe to loot it because that crow is not going to land if there are enemies nearby. So there are all these little details. Yeah, so there's all these like little details in it that I think are actually really helpful and really useful and cool. And so I'm looking forward to playing this some more, but I keep dying. It's so easy to die in this game because you have to be careful too of your food and your water and be mindful of kind of what how much space you have in your backpack, both physically and how much weight you can carry. There are modules and things that you can level up though to adjust that and make that a lot easier for yourself. But it takes a while. There's certainly quite a level of some grinding to get to that point. But I found this game to be so far an absolute blast.
Great. So it's an extraction shooter, so you get as much loot as you can, and you leave, and then another level is generated, and you take that loot into the next place.
Yes. Well, especially if you take it to the like main bunker that you're staying in and store it, or you keep it on your inventory, then you can take it into the next level or wherever you go. Which in the beginning, you're actually going to keep going back to the woods, but because it's procedurally generated, it feels totally different. It's got enemies in different areas. You can hit M on the keyboard. I'm still learning what all of the keybinds and getting used to them on the Steam Deck is, because I'm trying to play this game almost only on the Steam Deck. Which apparently is a lot harder. To me, this game looked like it would be perfect for a controller, and come to find out it is not. But I said, I don't care. I'm going to learn it. I'm going to learn it on the controller. And so, but anyway, when you pull up your map, you're actually able to see where the extraction points are. So, and you can pin them. So you can easily get to them, which is so much nicer than Tarkov. I do feel like this Zero Sievert game kind of scratches my itch for Tarkov while making it actually easier than Tarkov would be. And then additionally too, it's really nice to play on the Steam Deck once you do start getting the hang of it. But I do feel like there are some things, like I was just saying, with like hitting M on map, and certainly when you're navigating your inventory, like you're trying to equip and things like that, you can tell that it feels a little clunkier with using buttons instead of the key bindings. But otherwise, I'm thinking that this game is just, it's awesome. It's cool.
I think it looks casual, but definitely is not.
That's great. Yes.
That is the perfect way to put it, it seems like, because I was looking at this, I'm like, dude, this looks hard. Like, it looks fun, but it looks whimsical,
Technical,
but it looks
right?
hard.
Like, I'm looking at how the night vision works. I'm looking at how the sniper rifle works, and I'm like, oh, I like how they implemented this on a top-down game.
Yeah.
Great.
Yeah, it's super sick.
85%.
I guess we'll move up in visual acuity here before we get to the nicest game out of all four of them. So I ended up playing For the King 2 quite a bit since the last time I've been on the show. I can talk about it a lot now because I put in another, I think, 12 hours into the game. Still haven't beat the second chapter of 5 chapters in the game. It is hard. So, for example, on our most recent run, we were poised to beat it. Like, we were very, very well equipped. I ended up getting crit for like 98 damage, and I had like 99 health. and then I get hit one more time, and we were completely out of lives. Lo and behold, I was 2 XP from leveling up, and that would have filled me up with like health, and then everything downhilled from there. Like everybody started getting picked off one by one. For those who've never played For the King 2, it's a turn-based strategy game that is also on a grid. It's a very small grid. It's 2x4 by 2x4. Your opponents are procedurally generated, and so is the world. However, each chapter has different main quest lines. The first main quest line for the first one is really just get to this spot, kill this person, or pick up this item, and then deliver them, and then find this lady's lost husband, blah, blah, blah. What ends up happening is in the second chapter, to kind of twist it up, is that everyone gets a land ship, or everyone gets one land ship, and you all share it. So you get to like all travel in this one little kind of like cart or something. And it's really nice because you can pick people up from really far away, and people can kind of spread out and then get picked up and then move. However, the land ship has to be repaired. So it's very different from the first section, where you don't have to worry about repairing something all the time so that it works. And the other thing is that in the second chapter, you're going to 3 different towns and dealing with a wave survival kind of situation. So it's not like the first chapter at all. And then chapter 3, chapter 4, chapter 5 are obviously probably going to be different as well. I haven't played them yet. If you like,
maybe get good.
It's chance. It's completely chance. There's been times where we played, like the first time we played the first chapter, one of us got an epic weapon the second fight, and it's just like, okay, like this is a joke. Meanwhile, this last one, all of us got to level 3 without getting a single new weapon, and it's just a big deal to get a new weapon. The game is really fun. It features, I believe, 13 classes that are all very unique. Each class has a unique ability. For example, there's like a farmer who's like a strength-based character that has a pitchfork, and his ability is to summon a scarecrow that distracts enemies. There's like a bard. There's a minstrel. There is a blacksmith. There's nothing like this is a fighter or this is a wizard. They're all kind of niche-y. I think the only one that's kind of like that is sorcerer. That's really about it. Other than that, the game really does work whether you have a full party or not. It's just harder in the beginning if you don't have a full party. You can actually get to max level by yourself very quickly, and there's a system where you can hire these AI partners that are just called mercs, and the game progresses from there.
Full party is still 4 people or 3
It
people?
used to be 3. It's 4 now, which is very nice. The thing is, full party for the enemy could be even up to 8. You can fight a whole group of 8 enemies at once, and it is super fucking hard. But check it out. It's on sale right now for $14.99 instead of $25.99 or $24.99. It's definitely a game that will take hours and hours. It's technically a roguelike. A roguelike. But the overall like story is not. But check it out. It's a great game. It's got a 73 as of late.
Bobby, do you own this?
So I tried this out when I was trying to find a game to play with my girlfriend, and it was just too much. I think I complained about all the windows that pop up when it's trying to tutorialize you. Yeah. Didn't make it too far.
The first 2 playthroughs, no matter whether it be like chapter 1 or chapter 2, right? Even if you do like 2 playthroughs in chapter 1, the amount of pop-ups are insane. That's one thing that I will say about it, because the people that we've been playing with, they've never played the game before, and they're like, there's so many pop-ups. We're like, trust me, it's gonna go away. We don't get pop-ups anymore. But it's a good game.
I don't remember the first one having that issue, and I really enjoyed the first one, and I'd like to check out the second one at some point, but it's probably a game I'll be playing by myself.
But you only see every pop-up once, right?
Technically. Apparently there is a way to get rid of them before you even start playing the game, but then again, if you've never played the series, you kind of don't know what's going on. You can just read shit, but that doesn't always explain certain things, how you can kind of mechanically take advantage of the system. But
it's different from your typical RPG for sure, in a lot of ways. For sure.
Oh yeah, definitely.
All right.
How was Smite
Snipe.
2?
Smite 2. So yeah, that is the game that I played this week, and okay, where to begin with this? So we've got a long history with Smite. This was the game that we started playing way back when we started the podcast, and we played quite a bit of it. So obviously I wanted to get into Smite 2 for the longest time, but they were being kind of withholding with their alpha or their beta access. So I didn't get a key for a very long time. And in typical high-res fashion, I had to jump through a bunch of hoops to get it. So they had this event going on where you could watch an hour of a stream, link your Twitch account to your Steam account, and then you could get a key for the beta. So I did that, and I got into the beta, and I finally got a chance to check out Smite 2. And it's basically just the new and improved version of the original Smite, which is a third-person MOBA from maybe 10 years ago. Obvious graphical upgrade. They are going from Unreal Engine 3 to 5. But other than that, it seems pretty much identical to the original Smite. It's been a long time since I played Smite, probably within the last year. So maybe not too long, but I don't know the changes they've made to the original Smite. So I don't know what's different in Smite 2, to be honest. But in general, the gameplay felt quicker and more interactive, less delays on the abilities when you cast them, just like a little more fluid than I remember in the original Smite, which I guess is good. That's seems like more fun with gameplay. But my big question was, I mean, I had a good time with it. I played like a couple hours of it, and I was like, yeah, this is just like old times. But then after a while, I was just like, this is getting a little stale. But I mean, it's a good game. But my question is, are they going to get rid of Smite 1? And I think the answer at this point is no. So it's going to go into maintenance mode, is what they're saying. I don't know if this is official, but it's what everyone has been talking about. It's going to go into maintenance mode, which is what they put Heroes of the Storm in, which means they basically are just going to keep it as it is. No new updates, no new content, nothing like that. And all their efforts are going to go into Smite 2. It seems really weird to have both of these games running side by side because they're so similar. So we'll see how that works out. But my other big question is, how are people going to react to MOBA monetization in this current year of 2024, because nobody really does that anymore. Like, you don't see loot boxes anymore. Like, that's almost a thing of the past now. But also with MOBAs, you really don't see such aggressive like transactions and monetizations. Like, very obvious. Like, you could either spend months unlocking all this favor gems, whatever the currency is, to unlock one character, or you can just spend $5 and get that character right now. Like, very obvious trade time for money type of thing. And so the young people without money spend a lot of time, and the old people with money and no time spend the money. It looks like they're sticking to this in Smite 2. And what has some people upset is a lot of people have invested a lot of money buying gems, buying skins in the first Smite game. Those aren't going to transfer over to the second one. They can't. There's some technical reason why they can't just like transfer stuff into it. But they're doing these things called founder gems or legacy gems. So the legacy gems, if you've spent, for every gem that you've spent in Smite 1, you get a legacy gem in Smite 2. But the legacy gems will only let you can only take off up to 50% of the price of an item. So you can never really trade it directly for an item. You can only get half off.
It's
That's
a
kinda whack.
frequent customer discount coupon.
Yeah,
basically.
pretty much.
Yeah.
So that's a little
It's
weird.
something.
Yeah. I mean, a lot of people are kind of upset, like they think high-res is being greedy. And I'm just kind of like, have you ever played a high-res game? Have you ever like dealt with their monetization schemes? They're the ones that were like, here, watch commercials and earn gems, or go download this clean your Windows computer software and put your email address into this shady website and get gems. Like, they did all these weird kind of cross promotion things in order to like earn types of currency in the game. Now, one thing that I appreciate that they've done in Smite 1 and they're doing in Smite 2 is $30. You get all the gods, current and future, all the playable characters for $30 now and whatever else they release. Like that's a pretty good deal. Not that bad. So I feel like that's fair. But here's the other thing that they're doing. And this is both genius and a little scary. I'm surprised I haven't seen this before. I don't think anyone's done it before, but maybe they have. They've got these things called Ascension Passes. And it's basically a season pass, but for one character. So you have to buy a season pass for each god. Now, if you buy like the deluxe Founders Edition, then you can get this Ascension Pass for like all the gods they've released up until this point. And it's a season pass that works exactly like all the other ones. It gives you an XP boost, but again, for that one god, and it unlocks extra rewards as you level them up, but just for that one god. So I don't know. It's like I said, both genius. I mean, like, yeah, of course you'd want to split that up and then people would be paying for each one and they'd make a ton of money, but also kind of like, let's not let that be the trend. Let's not start that idea.
There's, I think a lot of people tend to play one or two characters, for the most part. So maybe this is, but I'm assuming it's cheaper, right? This is cheap, probably.
I don't know how much the Ascension passes are.
Because I'm just thinking maybe it'll force people to just focus on one character more, and maybe the overall quality of the games could be going up because everybody's a little bit better instead of jumping around all the time. But I don't know. They should just naturally let all that stuff play out.
Yeah, and a season pass will be like $10 a month typically. So I think these Ascension passes, I think you buy them once per god and then you have it for the entire time for that. So, I mean, it could even out, but you know how many characters MOBAs have. But
did you play Amir?
Yeah, I played Ymir. And he plays a lot differently. So when I talked about the game being more quicker paced and fluid, like he's a lot more fun to play because of that.
That's great.
But yeah, it's still same old Smite, but it is kind of weird to play a new game like this and just have all those like really aggressive microtransactions in it. I mean, League of Legends gets away with it because they've been doing it forever and it's just like, okay, everybody's already invested in it, but to have like a new game come out like that, I don't know. All right. So that's go ahead.
One thing that I will say about League of Legends is that, because I just recently played it, right? I don't think League of Legends will ever get like a League 2 or anything like that. They've actually confirmed that they're still working on their MOBA. And they also have like all their other spinoffs, like their fighting game. And their fighting game looks great. They just put out a trailer for one of their characters from Arcane, aka from the game itself. Her name's Jinx and things like that. I think if people do release a thing like Smite 2 or Dota 2 or
Dota 1 to Dota 2 was like a big difference. Dota 1 was basically a mod. Dota 2 really solidified that game, like made it an actual game. Like going from Smite 1 to Smite 2 just seems weird for so many reasons. I get the graphical upgrade, but the thing about MOBAs is you want people to be able to play that on a toaster or on like a computer that the professor made in Gilligan's Island. Like that needs to be able to run on anything. So when you upgrade like the graphical requirements, then you start to cut out the player base a little bit. So I don't think graphics is that big of a deal. Plus, what is slapping a 2? It's kind of like when Overwatch went to Overwatch 2. Like, it really is just to make more money. You put that 2 on there and people are like, new game, and they think that it has some significance and it means a lot. But really, it's just like, these are updates. These are games as services.
And what's crazy about Overwatch 2 is that they just released a patch that makes all the old heroes have all their old abilities. Mm-hmm. Like as Mei, you can freeze people again. As the fucking arrow guy, I can't remember his name right now. You can have like scatter arrow and all these other old abilities. And I'm like, what is up with this? Like, and then you have Fortnite releasing no build mode and classic mode, and they're coming back with classic mode, which is like the initial build of the game.
Yeah, and that's pretty much what Left 4 Dead 2 did as well. Like they eventually put all the maps, all the characters, and you can even play in the mode where there's no melee weapons. Like they put Left 4 Dead 1 inside of Left 4 Dead 2 eventually, but yeah.
And then we got Warcraft Classic. Like I think things get crazy and out of hand after years, and then you just got to dial it back sometimes. Or sometimes don't forget what got you to the dance. Let's get back to basics, and that slapping a 2 on there is kind of like a huge reset button to hopefully get rid of all the mistakes you made, all the tie-ins with look for a discount code on the bottom of your Pepsi for fucking free gems versus just now this new Accession Pass. Hopefully it's something good. I want to play it.
Yeah, it's worth checking out, man. It's still a good time. I think they've only got like 20 of the gods in there right now. But it's still a good time.
Good.
All right, so let's move on to On the Radar, games that have caught our attention this week. And I guess we're starting from the bottom up here. So Amanda, what you got?
Right now we've got Steam Cook Fest and the Cozy Fest going on with Steam. I think that also ends tomorrow on the 18th, though. So once again, if you're listening on Twitch, cool. If you're listening when it uploads, oof, you missed it. But anyway, so I was checking the Steam Cook Fest to see what was there and if there was anything that was interesting. And honestly, I typically actually really hate a lot of cooking games because they bring back triggering memories of being an expedite at a very busy restaurant, and it's exhausting. But Fruitbus, which is the game that I put on my radar, I think is different and a little bit of an exception. I'm curious, Bobby, if this reminds you of Dave the Diver, because it has similar mechanics in that you go out, you go forage your fresh ingredients to create your own menu, and then you cook those things and provide to people. But you're in a food truck, and then you can customize your food truck. And this game just seems really fun and really cute, and I feel like it should be on VR. It's not, but it should be, because this would make a magical VR game. However, it does look like it's very fun and very cozy and like a nice way to approach a cooking game, especially given that you get to drive your food truck around. So it's got a bunch of these little elements of other games in it, which is, I think, a great way to play it instead of just, grab these things, put them up here, put them, finish a dish like Overcooked. But this is looking pretty solid and cute. I don't know. What do you guys think?
I think it's like, here, let me sell you everything I found in this field over here. Like a mile away.
It's just a fucking stepped on rat. Well, there's corn.
It's a farm to table, right? It's like a farm to table food truck. That's pretty cool.
The POV of the game really makes it look like it's supposed to be a VR game.
Mm-hmm.
It does.
It's like a first person, but you can't see your arms or any appendages. Like you just see the fishing pole or the knife that you're chopping things up with. So yeah, it seems like this. When I looked at it, I was like, oh, this is obviously a VR game, but it looks like no, it is not.
It is not.
Did you download the demo?
I downloaded the demo. I plan on playing it because I saw this today and I was like, oh, this looks really cool and really interesting. Especially because I like that when you get into the truck, you pull up the parking brake, you put it into gear and you physically drive it. And so that's just the truck. But yeah, let alone the fishing and the going and gathering. They have little guns and grappling guns to go grab different fruits and things that are in trees that are in a distance. So it seems like really neat with that. I don't know. There's like this kind of feeling that almost reminds me of like No Man's Sky with it, which is kind of odd, but I don't know. I'm going to go with it. And it's sweet because then you just bring it all back to your truck and chop it up and create something. And you're like, monies, please. And people stand in line for you and you just drive your little truck around to different villages. And that seems awesome. So I'm super stoked to check out the demo of this.
Yeah, I want to hear about it next week.
Mm-hmm.
All right.
You're up, Emilio.
So Jakey Poo has shared this on the radar. People wanted me to say his name. He's like, I hope somebody picks this game just so they say Jakey Poo. But yeah, so he brought up this game, The Bazaar. I had to find it because it's not on Steam. It's they have their own browser, and I was like, okay, what is this exactly? And it's something new, from what I can tell. So it looks like an inventory management roguelike auto battler, which is PvP or PvE. You're like in a bazaar, I guess, kind of like battling against other bazaar shops, and you're trying to collect all these magical items and put them in your inventory so that you get the best synergies with them. So I watched some streams. It's hard to explain, but basically, it's the roguelike thing is you get to pick one of three weapons or one of three abilities, and then one of three something else between every rotation. And so you build your bazaar, and then you go up against a monster and you fight it, and then you can win something from that monster, and then sometimes you go up against other players. I know it sounds weird. It kind of looks like Hearthstone to me, but the gameplay, there's no cards. It's more about positioning of items on your mat, and your mat gets bigger and more complex. And I saw infinite combos. I saw some synergies that were just like, this guy's like, oh, I got 2 yo-yos. So I guess a yo-yo triggers every time the item next to it triggers. So then he got something that triggers like every second. And then he put another yo-yo next to that one. So anyway, it's just, it looks like a slot machine is just doing all this damage to the player. What I also thought it was interesting was you don't have to go offensive. You can win without any, you could just go full defensive, shields and healing, and there's a timer on every battle. So after like 15 seconds, the level itself does damage to you very quickly. So whoever can withstand the tornado or sandstorm that comes in wins. So you don't have to attack the other guy at all. So there's multiple ways to win, which I thought was interesting. It's going to be free to play, but it's an closed beta right now, and you can get into the closed beta for $33 for the foundation, and then you get 2 copies. There's no single copy for 15. It's just 33 is the entry price. I'm interested in it, but I think I'll just wait for the first free to play. But I haven't seen anything quite like this before. So yeah, we'll keep an eye on it for when it goes live. There's no date on when it's gonna. It just went into closed beta, I think.
Interesting.
Yep.
This is a new game from a old developer. This is Atomfall, is what I'm going to be talking about for On the Radar. If you don't know who Rebellion is, they're the ones that make the Sniper Elite games. I guess this is their new thing to branch out in a different kind of atmosphere and a different kind of, I guess, IP entirely. Atomfall is going to be $49.99. And it is I don't want to say Fallout-esque, but it is a post-apocalyptic game after a nuclear apocalypse. It's set in Britain. And then the other thing is that it's kind of more of a modern take on the idea. Instead of like the retro futurism, it's very much like, I guess you want to say, I think it's the 1990s is when the apocalypse happens, or the 1980s. So like the aesthetic is very different. You don't have like the Pit Boys. You don't have you still have robots and shit, but they're more industrial looking. They're more, I don't want to say realistic, but less, 1950s movie-esque. There's BTRs and other other realistic looking infantry personnel carriers. It's a first-person shooter. It's a story-based game, so there's no multiplayer. And from what they have shown in the trailer and what they've talked about in the description, it seems like there's a lot of aspects to the game. There's like 3 kind of main, I don't want to say factions, but beliefs in the game. There's like a kind of like a hippie cult that lives in the middle of nowhere. And they like believe that like going back to nature is the reality of the situation. There's like a cult that blames the atomic bombings on humanity itself. And they are kind of like a militant group. And then there's kind of like the neutral, like good guy group. It just seems like this game is really fleshed out from what I've seen on like trailers and stuff. It looks very nice. As someone who put 11 hours in Fallout London, it's nice to see a engine that doesn't look clunky as fuck because it's the Fallout engine or the Skyrim engine or the Bethesda engine that is the same. But yeah, I'm definitely going to check this out. It comes out March 27th of 2025, and that's Atomfall.
Did you finish Fallout London?
No, I'm still playing it. I boot it up at least once a week and put like 2 to 3 hours in it. Yeah. It's a long game, dude. Yeah. I also did run into a game breaking bug in the like fish people town, and I had to wait like 2 days until they patched it. Lo and behold, I just happened to choose the right sequence of events to be able to get stuck.
Right.
Essentially, what it was is that a certain door didn't collapse when it was supposed to collapse, and I didn't want to like do console commands and shit like that and fuck up the game more than I did because I've done that before in Fallout games. But yeah, it's just I don't know. I like it. It's not a I gotta finish it now kind of first story game, but yeah.
What you got, Bobby?
All right, so this week I'm going to be talking about UFO 50 for On the Radar. This is an interesting game. So as I was doing some research on games of the year, because I saw that announcement I talked about at the top of the show, and I was like, what did even come out this year? Like, what could possibly be a nominee for Game of the Year? So I'm looking at a lot of people's different top games of the year, and this one was on there, and I had never heard of it, so I thought I would check it out, and it looked pretty interesting. So this is a collection of 50 different games, both single and multiplayer, and they are retro-styled, NES-inspired games, but they've got that modernized gameplay or modernized touch to them. So I don't know. It looked interesting. Some of the games, obviously these are NES games, so there's a lot of platformers in there. There were some sports games, some shooters that kind of looked like what is it, like not Contra, but there were some that I remember. I think like the Young Guns arcade game where the person was like in front and you were shooting at things off in the distance.
I love that on the arcade.
Yeah, that type of game. And also I saw a grid-based RPG in there that looked pretty good.
Yep. So I actually ended up watching a video about this game, and the way that they kind of structured it is like, those shitty mall kiosks that used to sell like bootleg games where it's like 50 games in one.
Oh, yeah,
and they were all like absolute trash. This is supposed to be like that, but every game is really good and like a legitimate game. And every game, I believe, has like a different designer spin to it. And it's like a collection of different designers and different producers, well, not producers, but designers on one game that have made these little games. And I've only seen 11 of the games, and like 7 of those 11 look like I'd be playing them immediately.
96% positive reviews with 3,500 reviews. Pretty good.
Yeah, very well reviewed and developed by Mossmouth. So this is the same developer as Spelunky. And also they mention on the Steam page that the developer of Downwell was involved. So that's some good pedigree right there. So this game is $24.99, which seems like a lot for a game that is all retro style, but it seems like this one actually is really good and probably worth the money. And if you think about it, 50 cents a game, not bad.
Yeah, you're getting a
Not
lot
bad.
there. And I think it's probably reviewed so high because there's probably at least 10 games in there for everyone.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I mean? And if I had 10 games that I liked, I'd be stoked.
Yeah.
From what I've seen, people have said that every game has anywhere between 30 minutes to 2 hours of gameplay.
Cool.
Ah, cool.
Yeah, it's awesome. What a great idea. I'll wait for this one to go on sale. Add to wish list.
Yeah, this one looks amazing.
All right. So it's about time for listener questions, but quick shout out. We got let's see, looks like someone cheered some bits here. Thank you, Biblioclasm.
Thanks, man.
Hey,
I don't know if that
Thanks,
loud audio cue is going to show up at the beginning of the show when he cheered that, but we'll see. Okay, time for listener questions. Amanda, you want to take it away?
Sure, I can take it away. All right, starting off, we've got a little bit of a hangover from the last episode of the Steam Deck, so wondering if you guys could answer this as well. Chaos Emerald asks, is a Steam Deck a viable option for a dad? He said that he's been on the fence about getting rid of his Switch and wanted to get a Steam Deck for a while now. He used to be super into PC gaming until he had kids, and now he's he was really into how great of a platform it was, but he feels guilty skulking off to play the PC now in the evening. So would a good companion to his gaming laptop be the Steam Deck as a means to play more PC games again?
I think if you have time to play your Switch, you're probably going to have time to play this. But I know exactly what you mean, dude. Like going somewhere else. It feels like you're just doing something for you. Everybody knows when the door shuts to the garage. Oh, Dad's gonna go do something by himself and leave us all shut out in the cold. That's how it feels to me every time I come in here. So
But that's what happens when you're your family's entertainment. Okay, you got to cut them off. No more family time.
I feel like I'm skulking off every time, man. So yeah, if you can find time, yeah, I would say that there's less shame playing out on this couch for some reason. Because yeah, you could pause, and the great thing is, even if you turn it off or pause or whatever you do, it'll pick off exactly where you left off, no matter what game it is. Even though that game didn't program anything like that in there, you hit that power button, you come back, you hit that power button, you're in the mid jump, you fucking end that jump. It's awesome.
Yeah, I feel like you touch on a really good point of that, like in comparison, because I have a Steam Deck and a Switch, and I do feel like the Steam Deck does a way better job of pausing and picking up right where you left off and saving and having everything interconnected like that.
Yep.
Good point.
It's like the save state from emulators.
Yeah.
Yes. All right. Well, the next question is coming from Biblioclasm. He says, as PC games integrate us more closely into a hive mind, will we be able to continue to enjoy gaming without sacrificing our individuality? Why or why not?
Whoa.
Going deep.
Yeah. I don't know, man. I think as we get more and more powerful PCs and AI and stuff, yeah, we will be able to design our own games for ourselves. You'll just be working with your computer back and forth to like make your own game. I think it's like in natural language. You'll be able to. Some programmers are already programming using natural language through AI. So how long extrapolate that to 15 years? You could probably make a game for yourself that you'll actually enjoy. So there's your individuality.
Wait, what do you think, Bobby?
I don't know. I'm trying to understand the question here. So
I think what it is I kind of try to clarify because I thought about it for a second. I think what it is that a lot of PC games are like either universally beloved or universally hated, and people are very influenced by those feelings, right? One example I can say is I know some people love Starfield. I know that they really like the game. Did everybody shit on it? Yeah. Did it lose like 90% of its players in like 4 days? Yeah. But the thing is there individuality to be like, I'm still going to play Starfield. I like the game. I'm going to still play it. Or does that go away? Because as time goes on, you got these streamers that are like pitching out games like Among Us or like anything like that, where like these like gems. I think a better example would be Lethal Company, like a game that was like 3 years old and then all of a sudden explodes in popularity and now everybody and their mom's playing it. I think that's what he's talking about. Hive mind is like, is there any kind of individuality left in the system where you can play your own games and kind of do your own thing, or is everybody just playing what's hot?
I don't know. See, I don't feel like, and this is just my perspective and where I'm at with gaming, but I feel like it's even more fractured than it's ever been before. Like everybody's playing different things.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
I think it's kind of harder to get everybody on the same page. I mean, when's the last time we had a PUBG or a, what's that other one? Fortnite.
It does happen, but they're in smaller bursts. You know,
Yeah, they're usually only like 2 weeks to a month.
Yeah,
Like
2 weeks to a month.
It's never like I don't want to be that guy, but like when Call of Duty World at War came out for PlayStation 3, I think like millions of people were playing it at the same time, to the point where like that's what everybody talked about. Nobody was like, well, I'm playing Fishing Simulator 4 and I'm playing, some RPG. Like everybody at school, Karate Survivor. Everybody was playing the same thing, kind of, or the same vein of things. It's like, well, I don't like Call of Duty. I play Battlefield 4. All right.
Or
But
WoW.
now I think Bobby's very
WoW.
right, where everybody kind of has their own slice of the pie. But we only see everybody kind of unify when something like grandiose comes out. Like what's that game with all the Greek gods? It's a roguelike.
Hades.
Like Hades. Like a Baldur's Gate. Like anything like that where it kind of revolutionizes. I shouldn't say even revolutionize, like makes a big impact. That's where really everyone plays this game. I personally believe, I think that the next shooter, at least that's going to do that, is going to be the next Battlefield, because they've already announced they're going back to a class system. They're not doing operators. It's going to be modern warfare. It's going to be slower like the old Battlefields, and they're focusing on 64-person maps. So it's going to be more like how when they had their heyday, and it's going to get more people to play. I guarantee you that. So yeah,
again, going back to the basics, going back to what got them to the dance.
Yeah, their biggest change caused them to have their worst reviewed ever product. So it's like, come on.
True. But I mean, one could argue, is that going back to a hive mind of what Battlefield is, right? I don't know. To me, the way that I feel about this question is that, like, so many, kind of similar to, I feel split about it, because I feel like on one hand, I can see how there is a hive mind being created, because much like a lot of times with music and bringing back a bunch of, oh man, what's it called? Like samples of the same thing from in the past, how unique and original can you really get when so many of the IPs are being recycled so many times, so many styles and game styles are being cycled so many times. But I do feel like with AI, and additionally too with how accessible it is to make especially indie games, we are going to be able to still enjoy a lot of individual and unique IPs and games to this day, even if, say, AAA or even more, I would call it like B-level groups are kind of heading more towards like a hive mind or like a script that's like kind of easy to follow to make money. I do feel like there's going to be a good amount of individuality, because I see a lot of that fracturing too that you were talking about, Bobby. I see a lot of that, especially with the indie and weird stuff. When you start diving deep into the Steam like curated discovery queue, you really get to see, you're like, wow, why am I frying eggs in a weird Arctic apocalyptic world? Like, it's so fascinating, kind of the depths that you can see of these individualistic design and mentality, right? But I don't know, it's kind of interesting. We'll see, because so many of these other games that are larger do go back to their basics and kind of go back to what their hive mind works, right? And so I think there's room for both of those things happening at the same time.
And just remember, Vampire Survivor was one person. Stardew Valley was one person. And they fractured the pie even more, because now there's new genres or subgenres. So that's just going to continue happening forever. So yeah, there's a sun for everybody.
Absolutely. And I think you touched a little bit about it earlier, Emilio, but so maybe you can lead answering this question. But the next question is J. Beck Quest asks, what do you think about AI in gaming? He personally is looking forward to interacting with NPCs in ways that feels more authentic. And I am too, because the Skyrim mods where the AI starts, or even the Twitch people commenting, putting that into NPCs has already generated so much hilarious content. I can only imagine what AI could do with that. So what do you think, Emilio?
I think it was maybe 2 years ago where I saw a plugin for Skyrim where it gave them, very basic AI, but they remember your conversations with them and they'll give you directions around the area.
They'll tell you to stop repeating yourself and things like that. Yeah.
Yeah. So that was 2 years ago. So hopefully they kept working on that, and hopefully other developers saw that and saw the interest in it, because once NPCs are speaking more naturally, I mean, why hasn't this happened yet? I guess because your game would probably have to be online so that it could talk to the chat GPT or the whatever. So that's probably why. But
one of the main things I guarantee you that is the case is that there's a lot of people that have contracts with a lot of companies that they're voice actors for whatever game coming up or whatever series of games coming up, and they're like, I'm not giving my voice to AI. And I'm guessing it's jobs, I'm guessing it's union, I'm guessing in things like that, where it's like, I understand where people were coming from for AI in video games. I think certain things could be the case, but I also think that certain things need to be voice acted, certain things need to be done by a human. Everyone remembers the Emperor being Patrick Stewart in Oblivion and things like that, where you want these notable names. I don't want to feel like I'm just talking to a computer the whole time for a whole game. I want to feel like there's a soul behind it. I don't know.
But unfortunately, the soul can only record so many voice lines, and it only makes sense to record so many voice lines. You got to pay that person per hour. I mean, largely that's
But
this
yeah,
is what
look at Baldur's Gate. There's so
With
many
Neil
hours went
Newman,
into it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's so many people had so much love for those characters and those people that did those jobs. Now those people, like the guy who plays Asterion, is
Yeah,
making
Neil Newman.
millions of dollars just guest starring on D&D shows or interviews and things like that.
Yeah, but I
You
think
don't get that
we're
with
talking
AI.
about two different things here a little bit. So, I mean, when you talk about AI doing voiceover work, the advantage to that is dynamic content, that it can create stuff in the
Right.
moment and react to the player. But you also look at something like the finals, and they used AI for the announcer voice. And that was just like pre-recorded stuff, I believe. I don't think that was being automatically generated. That pretty much just replaced a voice actor. And it sounded real bland. You look at a game like Super Monday Night Combat and the announcers in there, and like the personality they put in there, and it's just night and day difference. And that shows you like the better product can be made if you pay people to do a good job to do it. But I do see the advantage, like what Emilio is talking about, where you can have that dynamic content.
Yeah, largely the writer strike that we just got over, and the longshoreman strike that we just had on the East Coast. It might still be going on. I'm not sure what's going on with that.
No,
But,
it's done.
It's about automation. Like both of those are about automation and AI and them taking over their jobs, basically. And it basically, if you want to start using more automation, you're gonna have to pay us a hell of a lot more. I think they want a 70% increase in their, because they know that their jobs are going away. So yeah, I mean, everybody's looking at this, including the gaming world. I don't know how it's gonna shake out, but hopefully all for the better.
Yeah, join us next week for our DLG political podcast where we lose friends and make enemies.
Yeah.
I'm kidding.
Major reskilling. Yeah.
All right.
But
I
yeah.
think that's it. What's everybody playing next week?
War Thunder. They had their anniversary event and they're having their Halloween event, and they were putting out some insane deals because they hit 13 years old, and I guess that's like a lucky number for them for some reason. I picked up the game and I'm having the most fun I've ever had with it, playing with like modern day vehicles. And then more for the King. Oh, and Darktide. I'm picking up back up Darktide. So Yeah.
So you just sent me something, Nick. That was Locked and Loaded. What is that? Is that
Darktide. That's the
DLC?
So that's the new. No, that's the new version of the game. It's just Darktide, and then Locked and Loaded is the new event that's happening.
Oh, gotcha. Okay.
They've added since we've played, they've added like 13 new missions or 12 new
Jeez.
missions.
Yeah.
And then they've added way more dynamic shit, and then like the system for getting weapons is way easier. It just went like when it first came out, it was like a 71, like a lukewarm performance. Things weren't working. When it did work, it was cool, but things were kind of repetitive. Now that they're adding things, it's a lot more open to new players. It's getting negative-ish reviews from older players right now because they just switched up the meta. And anytime you switch up any meta in any game, people get mad. And so like the people were like, I have 600 hours in this game and they just changed how my bolter works and I don't like it. And so it's like things like that.
Yeah, I probably join you for some Darktide, man. We ended
I
up.
just gotta find a
we gave
fourth.
it Game of the Year, and then we fucking stopped playing it.
Yeah. That's why I wanted to pick it up.
play. I want to play some Windblown. This game is amazing. Thank you, John, for picking it up for me. We played, I don't know, like 4 hours, and just had a fucking really good time. Just kind of like felt like old school gaming. Reloading, trying again, trying to beat the second boss over and over and over. We actually never got it done, but every time we did, we got a little bit closer. It feels like a multiplayer Hades. That's exactly, but it is that good, you know, or it's going to be that good because I think it's still in early access. But yeah, Windblown, hopefully, but I won't play it single player because it doesn't seem like it really is. For instance, when I played it single player and I try to pause the game, it doesn't pause. And that's that's a feature that you put in for multiplayer games so that one person doesn't hold up the game. So yeah, it's just straight up built for that. It's a lot of fun. Hopefully I can get other people to buy this and then play with me. I think it's a 3-player co-op.
It looks cool. I'm probably gonna try and play a little bit more of Elk on my Steam Deck, which was really fun to keep navigating through because that game is weird and quirky as fuck. And I still want to try and play Black Ops 6 at some point too.
Days, are you on my family share?
I might be.
Thank goodness you're here. George actually bought it for me. It's the funniest game, one of the funniest games I've ever played, if not the funniest. And it's like,
And you played one of the developers, one of the old games, the one where you can slap like the alien titties. Remember those? It's like kind of like yeah, that's the same developer. You're gonna love it.
Yes. Oh yes.
It's very good. So I suggest it. I think the whole game's under 2 hours.
Perfect. Yeah,
Yeah,
I'm looking
super
at it
good.
now. Awesome. Thank you for the suggestion. What about you, Bobby?
I'm interested in Karate Survivor, but I've also got to continue playing Core Keeper. I started playing it a little bit and actually kind of enjoyed it, so I want to continue with that. But that'll probably be the game I talk about next week.
I won't be playing Steam tonight, I don't think, Bobby. So you go ahead and play it off my account if you want.
All right.
Emilio's gonna be playing Commander tonight, boy.
Yeah, looking forward to some Commander. You want to play Commander? You in?
I gotta maybe. I don't
She's
know.
gotta get all the shit out of her car,
I gotta
dude.
get
She
all
don't
the
want
shit
to
out
get
of my
jacked.
car.
Oh, jeez.
I know.
All right.
Seattle, bro. Nice weather, not nice people sometimes.
Speaking for Amanda, Nick, Bobby, and myself, get that shit out of your car, titties. Bye, everybody.
Oops. I had the wrong outro music queued up. All right. I'll fix that in post, folks. All right.
Da-da-da-da-da-da.
All right.
Bye.